The term hidden gem is kind of a misnomer in gaming nowadays. Most of the time it's a title granted to games that are certainly gems but aren't exactly hidden. Pull up a video that's titled Top 10 Hidden Gem Indie Games, and the video opens up with number 10, Celeste, and it's like, what the hell are we doing here? No, I want to dive a bit deeper and showcase some games you've actually never heard of. Now, I'm not trying to gatekeep what is and isn't a hidden gem. Actually, no, wait, that's exactly what I'm doing. Whatever, here's the first game. No, I'm joking. Could you imagine? Anyway, for real this time. Kill the Crows is a Western-themed twin-stick shooter where you play as Isabella, a desperado who has a bunch of deadly birds flocking to her like her name was the Wet Bandit. Your objective is what the title implies. Kill the Crows, a straightforward task that proves to be a bit more difficult than it might seem. All you have to defend yourself is your pistol and your aim as you fend off waves of increasingly tough enemies and bosses, trying to rack up as high of a kill count as you can before inevitably biting the dust. To me, the unique pull of Kill the Crows is the fact that everyone, including you, dies in one hit. While this aspect makes thinning the hordes thrown at you easier to manage, the ever-looming threat of death due to a single mistake breeds a constant air of tension at all times. Your ace in the hole, however, is your showdown ability, which lets you paint several targets to take out in an instant, and frankly, dumpsters your competing cowboys' pathetic high noons and deadeyes. You're expected to use this a lot, as it recharges every few kills and is an absolute necessity for getting out of rough spots. It's a simple but satisfying loop of rotating between shooting enemies normally and making wise use of your showdown to keep yourself alive. There are several unlockables to work for, including passive perks, different variations of your showdown, and a selection of revolvers, each offering their own quirks, such as piercing rounds or a shotgun with limited range and mag size, or even the big iron. There's enough variety to find a loadout that works for you. I personally ran with the shotgun and the showdown that lets me shoot through walls to take out priority targets easily, as there are several enemies that are much more scary to deal with than others. Snipers, for instance, are priority number 1 due to their range and accuracy. Shielded enemies apply positional pressure, forcing you to stay on the move and finding an opportunity to flank. And of course, there are the bosses. What I find funny about this game is that once you get better at it, the bosses ironically become one of the easier parts of the game, as they die in one hit, just like everything else. Most boss fights are over in less than 10 seconds, and it's extremely satisfying to become quicker and quicker at taking them out as you get better at the game. The presentation is also solid on all fronts. The pixel art is awesome and full of detail, with my favorite touch being the death animations on enemies as they flop backwards while their corpse slides away. Gunshots let out a punchy, crackly bang as the sound of ejected shells plink around. And the music, while only having one track, fits the mood perfectly, and I felt it never overstayed its welcome. It all just sounds and looks crisp. It's a nice, polished-looking product with quality where it counts. My biggest takeaway with Kill the Crows is that you don't need to have a massive scope to make a good game. It's a rudimentary wave shooter with a handful of simple but well-executed mechanics and just enough variety to stay interesting until the end. It's the video game equivalent of a $5 footlong. Do people even remember what that is? $5 footlong? No? Okay, moving on. I can't think of another time where I was sold on a game just from reading the first line in its Steam description. Felvidek, a JRPG set in 15th century Slovakia.
Hello? I'll take it.
What I got was a beautiful, heartfelt game that after 6 hours left me more satisfied than games that have taken me even 10 times as long to complete. You take on the role of Pavel, an alcoholic knight stricken with permanent troll face syndrome, tasked with investigating a mysterious cult that threatens your homeland, meeting and interacting with a wide assortment of characters along the way, such as Matej, your faithful priest companion, Joseph, the lord of Felvidek with an unhealthy chess obsession, and Naya the dog, who is important because she's a dog. The story is surprisingly compelling, with several twists and turns that kept my intrigue thoroughly stirred throughout. What caught me off guard, though, was just how funny the game was. Granted, the humor is drier than drinking a Sauvignon Blanc while watching King of the Hill in Phoenix, Arizona.
This city should not exist. It is a monument to man's arrogance.
But still funny regardless. and it's an incredibly welcome juxtaposition to some of the darker happenings in the story. I'm being intentionally vague here because I think it's a story best experienced knowing as little as possible, so get your spoilers somewhere else. The gameplay is pretty stripped down from your typical JRPG. There's no XP, skill points, or job systems to get wrapped up in, so anyone who physically recoils at the term JRPG can put the Excel spreadsheets away and relax, as gameplay serves primarily as a vessel to guide you through the story rather than the other way around. That isn't to say the gameplay is boring, however. Next to some flashy animations and punchy sound effects, the combat is actually pretty visceral for a turn-based RPG. Want to know how you revive someone in this game? By pouring one out for the homies.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not.
Of course, being an RPG, there's plenty of exploration to be had, despite Felvidek's short runtime. The game world itself is surprisingly dense, with several hidden NPCs and secrets to find, including probably one of the dumbest Easter eggs I've ever found in a video game. The presentation is delightfully unique, with picture book-esque backdrops and artwork accompanied by some well-done pre-rendered cutscenes. It really nails the 90s era PC gaming aesthetic that I'm sure other sucker millennials like myself will find endearing. What really left an impression, though, is the music. I don't think anyone would expect this kind of music for this kind of setting, and that's precisely why it's so brilliant. I think the best way to sum up Felvidek is from a Steam review I found that described it as a D&D one-shot campaign with your friends. It's a self-contained adventure filled with intrigue, mystery, drama, and a few laughs along the way, all packed into a roughly 4 to 5 hour package. If you ever wanted to play as an alcoholic knight in 15th century Slovakia during an Ottoman invasion, then you have oddly specific tastes. And this is the perfect game for you. Crumble is a physics-based 3D platformer where you play as an inexplicably fast blob that answers the age-old philosophical question of, what that tongue do, though? The answer, naturally, is being a grappling hook. As we all know, grappling hooks make almost any game instantly better, so building an entire game around the concept is practically a no-brainer, and Crumble nails this concept almost flawlessly, delivering a sense of speed and momentum that I have yet to really experience in another game. Your objective is simple: get to the end of the level as fast as you can. Revolutionary, I know, but the simplicity of the gameplay on the surface is a bit deceptive, as the nature of the physics system lends a near limitless skill ceiling and creative thinking on part of the player to navigate the environment. Seriously, go look at the speedruns. It's completely nuts what some people can pull off. Zipping from platform to platform and vine to vine to the end goal of each level has an incredible sense of flow that's maintained even when you mess up due to a generous checkpoint system and relatively easy ability to course correct thanks to your exceptionally lengthy spit noodle. There's a constant barrage of having to make split-second choices, calculations, and reactions to maintain course that makes any uninterrupted streak of high speed feel earned in a way that even most 3D Sonic games don't even come close to capturing. Blue Blob beats Blue Blur. Go figure. Say that 5 times fast. Blue Blob beats Blue Blob. Blue Blob. The real standout of Crumble, however, is with the level design. From forests of bouncy mushrooms to chaotic ruins under bombardment to riding the backs of giant rock dragons, there's a plethora of creativity on display that is more than likely to lead to some, sorry for using this word, moments that have stuck with me ever since the first time I played this game years ago. Couple that with unlockable bonus levels that each explore their own unique gimmicks to toy around with, and there's quite a lot to love here. Most notably, there's a pinball level, which communicates to me that this game was made for me and me only. This game is mine now. While the game's presentation isn't exactly a showstopper, and the game's mascot looks like something out of a 5th grader's first creepypasta, I personally enjoyed the game's aesthetic a lot. The liberal use of lighting and colors is a pleasure to look at and does a good job of distinguishing the various biomes throughout the game. Some people have knocked the music, but I think it's a cute and fun collection of ragtime tracks that, for better or worse, helps give the game a unique identity. Crumble isn't perfect, of course. Climbing walls can be a bit frustrating, and some of the more vertical levels and platforming sections are sometimes a slog and fail to play to the game's strengths. There's also one level in particular that, while visually amazing, made me want to start popping Dramamine like they were Tic Tacs. Ugh. Overall though, Crumble is a solid experience that has stuck with me ever since I first played it in 2020, and for that reason alone, I felt it was worth putting in this video. If you're a fan of platformers and going fast, pick it up. The developer also has another game coming down the pipeline that looks downright gorgeous and has a free demo on Steam. Go check it out. Or don't. I'm not your dad. Arctic Eggs is one of the weirdest games I have ever played, and I love it for that. Its strange imagery, gameplay, and humor makes it come off as a deeply unserious product, while at the same time being one of the best recent examples of games as art that I've experienced in years. And it's a game about cooking eggs. So in Arctic Eggs, your goal is to head around the town of what I can only assume is Buffalo, New York, with your trusty frying pan and a pocket full of dreams to feed the hungry denizens in order to secure an audience with the fabled Saint of the Six Stomachs. The gameplay consists of cooking stuff in a skillet without letting it fall out, and that's about it. Despite the simple gameplay, it actually has enough nuance and challenge to make such a rudimentary task surprisingly fun and engaging. The key aspect of the gameplay involves having to keep the food in motion in order to cook it, meaning you can't simply let go of the mouse, wait, flip the food, and then wait again. You're always having to keep the proverbial poultry plate spinning. Proverbial poultry plates. What the f was I thinking? It starts off easy enough with learning how to cook a single egg, and next thing you know, you're having to do the same thing with a pack of Marlboros in the pan, or having to avoid explosive bullets from knocking all of your stuff out. The game introduces enough twists and gimmicks to keep your attention, and it never overstays its welcome within its modest runtime. The difficulty setting is also pretty amusing. You want to go baby mode walk style, or do you step it up and go big dick flapjack energy? Beyond the gameplay though, what stuck with me in Arctic Eggs was just the overall weird vibes it emanates. The townsfolk have dialogue that is downright unpredictable, their cooking requests don't make any sense, everyone has this unsettling warbly pulsing effect going on, and this guy default dances for some reason. Despite all the nonsense though, it delivers some pleasant surprises in the form of some banger lines that just come out of nowhere. The sea of absurdity makes these small moments of clarity or humor stand out and almost makes you believe there's more wit and thought behind Arctic Eggs than first impressions might let on. It's uncompromising in its vision and commitment to the weird that I can't help but respect it. It's what I'd call an abstract artwork in video game form. You kind of just experience it and walk away with whatever meaning you want from it, or even no meaning at all. What really stuck with me was this surprisingly profound quote that I just want to share. Pandering resembles erosion. Grand ideas, like towering mountains, erode into accessible but diminished forms. Initially, these ideas, pure and monumental, become mountains through expression, enabling others to perceive them. Yet, as demands for broader accessibility grow, like relentless rain, they sculpt the peaks into gentler hills, and eventually, valleys and canyons. This erosion, while making the mountains more accessible, strips away the beautifully rigid peaks. At the canyon's base, the view spans wide, offering superficial understanding without deeper engagement. The hiker who navigates the mountain's original rugged terrain, though seeing less, grasps its true nature far beyond any canyon bitch. My nostrils are hurting.
Signal detected. Initializing.
Two of my favorite games from the late 2000s were Geometry Wars 1 and 2. And ever since then, I've never quite found a game that's ever scratched the same itch. Until I played Cyberpulse. Cyberpulse is an arcade twin-stick shooter, but not actually a shooter, composed of dozens of unique levels and boss battles that is pretty much what I'd consider to be the spiritual successor to Geometry Wars and more. The core gameplay in Cyberpulse involves a gravitational field you project at the front of your ship that flings enemies in whatever direction you're aiming at with the right stick. The only way to destroy enemies is to fling them towards the death walls of the arena using this field, which causes them to drop shards you then pick up to increase your score multiplier. Then it's just a matter of staying alive as long as possible, die, look at your score in disgust and say, nah, I can do better than that. It sounds simple, but Cyberpulse continuously stays fresh throughout its dozens of levels that have their own objectives, layouts, and power-ups that are each incredibly well crafted, with the highlights being the boss battles, which are absolutely no slouch. F you, botnet, you annoying bastard. I swear half my time in this game has just been me replaying these boss battles over and over, trying to chase the top score on the leaderboard. Funny story, actually, on the first boss battle, I thought I'd try to get the #1 high score, and after a few hours, I finally managed to pull it off. But then this fucking Gabriel Gardner guy went and beat my score within 20 minutes. I went back in, beat his score. I fucking did it. Fuck you, Gabriel. And then he leapfrogged me again. Who the hell does this guy think he is? Later that evening, I got an email from a Gabriel Gardner, who happens to be the guy that made the game. Awkward, because I was talking mad shit before I got this, and sorry about that game. Your game is great, and I'm sure you are too. This is one of those games you play where you can truly just feel the passion that was put into it. Given what I've explained about the gameplay, you'd think you'd want to keep your gravity field active at all times, but actually no, because when it's off, the multiplier shards get magnetically pulled into your ship instead of having to chase them around the stage. This one quirk makes maximizing your score a balance between offense and defense, where you have to drop your gravity field to effectively collect shards before they disappear, and is a mandatory skill to learn if you're trying to top the leaderboards. It's a small thing, but those small tweaks are what make a good game great. And between that and the carefully designed levels, I can't help but commend Gabe and what he's made here. Which makes it all the more criminal that this game has only been played by like 20 people. There's a whopping 9 reviews on its Steam page, and I genuinely find it disappointing that a game this good hasn't had more people try it. As such, I'm awarding Cyberpulse the most underrated game I've ever played so far award. Jeff Keighley will be personally delivering it to your doorstep, I'm sure. Genuinely though, go play Cyberpulse. Even if one person plays it, that would make me a very happy cartoon snake. Thanks. And that's about all I got. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Sorry for being gone for, that many. And I know this is a bit of a different format than usual, but there's like a lot of video games, guys. If this is something you'd like to see me do more of, subscribe and let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and stay slippy. Nope, that's awful. Scrap that. Okay, bye.